I love tea. Right, so today's video was meant to be about the 350, putting the bottom end together. And the bearings were sent out a week ago. I still haven't got them, so I'm tipping they're going to be here Monday or Tuesday, hopefully. Right, so today is about the little T250. Wasn't going to start doing it until later on. But the rain's been terrible and the wind's been up. And I've got it here, so I might as well. Now, in this one, this is more, I haven't bought any parts or anything, I just need to see what's there. Now, Neil, who sold me the bike, had everything sort of spread out on his deck, in sort of arranged on his deck, if you know what I mean, for the photos that he was going to post for an advertisement. And when he went in to get the paperwork and everything, I just scooped everything up and chucked it in the back of the Commodore in no particular order, so I had no idea what was there. I had a basic idea, but there's all sorts of bits and pieces, spaces in wheels and all that sort of business. And I had no idea what was there really. So this is about going through all the parts and figuring out exactly what's good and what we need to replace. And we get a plan of attack going, we have a look at the cost of it, and we lace a wheel, I lace a back wheel, and pretty much talk about the direction we're going to go with it. Now this is going to be a stock bike. The bits are too good. I'm not going to chop anything up or do anything like that. I want to keep that for the 350 format, a little banger one we got. A wonderful gentleman has got in touch with me saying he's got lots of parts, and I'm yet to message him back. I messaged him before, and he went to England for 5 weeks and I went to Canada, but I think he's back now. So it depends on the cost of it as to what we can do with it. So that's all coming up, as well as the steering wheel for the Plymouth. I haven't finished that yet, and the boot lid for the XC. I need to get into that. That's ready to go. It's just a matter of filling some of the lows or knocking down some of the highs and just messing around with it, getting it good. So I hope you enjoy. Right, we've got a box of goodies here for our little Suzuki, and I've sort of left most of the stuff in my mother's house. I've got to think about what I need to get the bike as a rolling frame. That way I can stick the motors in. I'll use both of them, test them out, see how they go. Now, part of this is the wiring loop, which has been cut by the look of it. On the Canadian trip we looked at a 360 Yamaha, and I felt really silly after that because I haven't played with a magnetoed motorcycle in 40 years. Now, they're a lot simpler in terms of the magneto generates its own power. That power is switched through the points, and the coil has a constant earth. So those triggers are sent to the coil and gives you a spark. With this, it uses a battery. Well, it's got an alternator with a regulator and uses a battery, obviously, and therefore the coil has constant power and it's earthed through the points. So we have to get the wiring sorted. Now, this chap was great because he's labelled it. He's bagged and tagged. That is brilliant. So in looking at some of these parts, I've got to ascertain what I need to use or what is available to me to use. And being a Suzuki, I am not totally familiar with it. Now, the bearing surface looks pretty good. In fact, it looks remarkably good. And what's really good about that is you have the foresight to keep the ball bearings. Now, I'm hoping they're all there and they're in good condition. Once I wash them and all that sort of stuff, I'll know if I can use them. Now, my two Hondas and also Dave's that we did up, we used the all balls tapered headstock bearings in them. And a lot of people reckon these are better, but time will tell. We've got to see if we've got them all first. A couple of rolls of electrical tape or loom tape. I might use the fabric, I'm not sure. Thankfully we have our switch gear, and that appears to be in lovely condition. High, low, and something else, I don't know what that is. Oh, that's high and low. What's that? Oh, left, right, that's your indicators, that's your horn. Kill switch. That all looks pretty good. I'd be most amazed if I couldn't use that. So it's just a matter of going through this. I've got a key, hopefully we've got the bezel, little screw on bit. So that all looks pretty good. We can test that out, make sure it's alright. Coils. Again, we've got a proper plug, and hopefully they're okay. The thing I'm worried about though is the integrity of the rest of it. We've got a flusher can. I'm assuming that's some sort of rectifier, I'm not sure. Brake switch, rear brake switch, just a matter of going through it all. That would be to the taillight assembly, and indicators. Then we get up to the dog's breakfast in the headlight. There is a cut bit though. I saw a cut piece on it. I can't remember where I saw it. We're going to go through all this and figure it out. That looks like some sort of aftermarket kill switch with a loom on it, a cable on it. So look, we've just got to go through this. That's the cut bit. There. Hang on a second. Is that part of this loom? I really don't know. There it is. Hang on, what's that? Nope. Anyway, we need to figure that out. Now, what I'm worried about, I'm not really worried about it, I've got to figure it out. Clutch cover. Is what parts we're going to clean up and reuse, what parts we're going to get plated. We've got all our push drive rubbers, which they're kind of average, but you never know, we might be able to reuse them. That gold, I think that's one of the headstock seals, I'm not sure. I need to go through it. Wouldn't have a clue. That'll be the forks. Now these are the bits and pieces I want to know about. We'll have engine mounting bolts, swing arm bolts. These bushes I thought were taken out, but they're not. They're still in there, and they actually look really, really good. These steel sleeves, for want of a better term, fit in. The centre tube's still in there, and of course we've found these things. And we'll get, I might get all this replated, I'm not sure. But that looks to be correct. I haven't got the other sleeve in there yet, but I know exactly where it is. And that'll go there, like that. So that's one sorted. Thankfully you don't have to get new bushes there. And I'm hoping the steering ones are right too, so it's just a matter of reassembling it. So I've got a manual, but manuals don't actually show you exploded views of everything. This is front wheel apparatus. It's a speedo drive, which works like that, which feels a bit grotty, but we can pull that apart. There's a circular bonnet, clean it out, re-lubricate, it's all good. That will be the crush tube between the two bearings, so that they don't get a whole lot of shimmy on the front and steer you into a tree. That sort of sits between the bearings to support them. And that's the nut. I don't know where the axle is though. Headstock, this gentleman had great foresight. He's taped all this up to protect it. We've got all the headstock stuff, I believe, including the main, and that'll clean up beautifully. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever, but there's collars and bits like that, and I'm not sure where they go. So it might be sort of necessary to find that out. So what I need to do, that's the cush drive, we mentioned that before, all these funny little bushes and so forth go on the fork, bits and pieces that sit around like that, and we want them. This bike's black, and it's got a black frame, so I want as much in the way of highlighted kit as I can get. And that's the reason why we're going to be plating stuff, and you know, I just don't want it to look like someone's hit it with a black rattle can, because everyone does that with bikes, and I find that a little bit, it detracts from the style of them. Right, so we've got this lock here. Oh, here we go. That would be a steering lock, I'm assuming. Whatever the case, works well. Yes? So we need to get another key cut, another Suzuki key. That bezel, I just realised something, and I wonder if that is that one. No, it's not. I need to find the nut for the bezel. Whatever. So that goes there, right. Need to also figure out how this axle goes. There's a nut there, there's a little bearing and a seal, and I don't even know how that goes yet. I haven't figured it out, but it can't be too hard. The wiring loom is actually quite good news, because the bit that's cut is surplus to the bike's needs. We've already got that. So this loom is complete, which is really, really good. That is not the brake light switch, that's a fuse. I just got it with a magnifying glass and had a look, so I'm wrong with that. But we do have a brake light switch there. For the rear, which somebody's cut or at least pulled out, they plug on like so. Some of these plugs don't feel awfully great in terms of they're a little bit, they've got a lock on them, and you know, pretty easy for me to pull apart, but there's enough resistance there. I think that's going to be alright. Once they're cleaned up and everything, it's going to be all good. So what that means is this. Now I've kind of found my way around it, I'm feeling a little bit more relaxed about it. Well, I was never feeling stressed anyway. I'm going to go in the garage in a moment and figure out, I think there's engine mount bolts. That could be a space that's aluminium, we can just buff that. The rest of it needs to be plated. And I want them plated, because I don't like this black paint all over bolts. I can't stand that sort of thing. For no reason, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just a personal thing that So it's what I'm going to do. The acid that they dip these in before they plate them to etch them isn't designed for paint. It's more for sort of grease and dirt and that sort of stuff. So it always gets rid of grease well. But these I might just soak in thinner, just a bit of old GP just to get them clean. Given that that's the brake light, the brake pedal spring, these sorts of things, you want to get the stuff heat treated just so you don't affect the strength of that. Rear brake cable, these don't use a rod, they've got a cable, she's nice and free, that's good. We can get these all sort of looking smart and put that on, and I'm not going to replace that. Throttle cables, new old stock, but it's not going to fit this bike because this bike had a 3 cable branch coming out of it, or at least the old one has. But you know, everything's looking pretty good. So the idea of this is I'm going to take all the bolts, there's loads of them here, and they're significant because they've got the S for Suzuki in the top of them, and I want to keep that. So I'm going to get all the bolts that are pertinent to the rolling frame, or at least all the bolts I can find on the bike anyhow, get them all plated, get them looking nice, and then I'm going to put the frame together as a roller. That's the plan anyway. Right, more parts. I'll go through them quickly. That's the stuff I'm going to get plated. Now, I can spend several hours cleaning all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's still pretty crap. So cleaning it's not going to do much. The whole lot to get plated, you know, it might be $50 or something like that. It's going to be much. I will stick these bits in. The bit of that Kickstarter's missing too. I've got to find that. I know Andy wanted one. Brake actuator lever, that can go. That'll be the stay for the rear brake. And so we got the steel bits here, the oil pump covers. They're aluminium, so we don't get those done. That's got chrome. We can't do that either. Really funky headlight bucket with a flat bottom. But the problem is, it's got a crack in it. That is a bummer. Not much we can do with that. We'll take the sprocket off. That sprocket looks pretty healthy. I'm not going to change that. Chain looked great too. I will do that. Brake pedal. Same sort of thing with the powder coating, like the air filter box and the stands and all that sort of stuff. You know what? It's just going to be easier and cheaper. I mean, I can rub all that rust out. There's a bit of surface rust because it was rubbed back a long time ago. Blasted and powder coated, that's not going to be much. Looks like it's missing a bit off the bottom. Someone's cut the bottom off the support. Might have to weld a support on there. Just a piece of flat bar across there. I need to see one. And the lid, I don't know where the lid part is. We can make that though. Making stuff's pretty easy for these. There's your fork, bits and pieces there. So, came with a great set of mirrors. We can reuse those. They're rear axle bearings, need new bearings for it. Speedo and smash tack. 333. Can actually pull that off. I'm going to paint that. So, new spokes, hub. What's going on here? Can we take that tape off? This guy's been really, really good because he's really thought things out before he's done them. I really appreciate that. I really like what he's done, and I think his work's really, really good. So that's cool. Oil tank, we have to paint that. You can see that's all lifting. This is sight glass goes there. I've got to sort of paint up to that. So I might just draw around it. I don't know where that is. I'm assuming it is over here. Haven't really been through this. Side covers on this are great. They're steel, which is good. I've got the paint for those, so it's not even a problem. There's another set of indicators. That's a nice ring, although it is scratched up. It's a bit damaged there. So I might just use a cheap generic headlight in it for now. Brake caliper. This is GD380 and it looks pretty manky in there, so we're going to be rebuilding that. Might get that thing plated too. Have to pull that apart, get that done. Actually, I'll paint that. Horn. There's all sorts of goodies in here, and I'm pretty pleased because it looks to be rather marvellous. That's been welded. Someone's hacked that. I don't know if that's T250 or GD250, I'm not sure. We've got some rubbers for these that we pulled out yesterday and had a look. But, on the whole, it's pretty good. There's also a new set of spokes for the rear hub. I've got the hoops as well. Set of handlebars came with 3 sets of handlebars. I don't think I like those ones, but I don't know. I like them sort of lower. But at the end of the day, it's a fair little bounty there. Anyway, oh, another casing there too. So I'm going to pack this stuff up because we are running out of daylight. It's been 33 degrees today. My daughter's always there with me. And time to pick this stuff up. Also got this spare oil pump. That's the tack drive. Is that focusing? I think it is. That goes on your throttle, I think. The throttle's got a branch of 3. One for the carburetors and one for this. And it's got a little slotted drive on it. So where's the manifold? Oh yeah, they come out of the tubes, come out of there. There and there, I think. That's a good thing to have, a spare oil pump. Modified bucket full of stuff we want to get plated. The big stuff I'm going to leave sort of detached, and they can string it up. You know, these sorts of things, they can do that. But all your small little bits and pieces we need to tie up for them. Not the most cost-effective way of buying copper wire. This is 7 metres at $5, I think, at the local hardware Bunnings. You're going to need about 3 rolls. There are cheap ways of buying it, but I couldn't be bothered hunting around. I just figured, what the hell, I'll just go and buy this and start stringing it up. And we just got it. I've just threaded them over. That one's got chrome on it, so we shouldn't put that on, but yeah, what the heck. And I've done the easy stuff through the nuts. We're just, you know, your castellator's probably a bit too close there. The other thing is, I've just noticed a bit of paint on that one. If you've got bolts, I'll show you something, like that with paint on, best to throw them in thinner and get rid of that paint, because the acid they put it in won't affect that so much. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's a lottery. But if you take that off, then it'll play. The other thing is, if you've got washers that are, or nuts that are rusty, they'll plate, but they'll be pitted, and it won't be shiny zinc. It'll look almost like they're rattle canned. So that's a 6mm nut. It's not branded. I'll probably just pitch that and just put a fresh one on. The same with washers. You know, that's that's not too bad. But if they're rusty, don't even bother with them. The stuff like this that you can thread through the wire is a lot easier. It's when you get, and I should probably put new locks on. These are locks for the disc rotor. So really, I probably should put new ones on. Now the other thing is, we need to get this heat treated. When they what do you call it? Electroplate. It goes into a hydrochloric etch, and you can, if you don't stipulate it, you can get hydrogen embrittlement. So what we'll do with that is we'll cut this up here. Oh, what have we got? Just up there. And I'll give them that string. That string is actually probably a little too long. Get this off the carburetor. It's like a richening device, like a choke, all covered in muck. I might clean it up and plate that as well. The screws, normally I do things like these screws here, the bowl screws. I don't think I'm going to bother with this. If I lose them, I'm screwed. They are absolutely spotless inside, which is a great thing as well. So for our 7 metres we got, for our 7 metres we got 3 strings of bits and pieces done, or at least stringed up. Important thing with copper wire, don't take them out of a transformer or anything like that, because they're insulated. This is just bare copper, and that's the way you need to have it, just so it can conduct electricity and transfer it onto the part. Okay, so we've got our rims. They're a bit dirty, but yeah, doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get to the point. Front wheel came like this, all laced up. Rear rim came like this, and the old ones came as well. These are great. These are DID. I'm assuming they're genuine. Is that a thing? I don't know. I remember I bought some Ray-Bans, some fake ones in the 80s, and they were actually marked Ray-Bon, if you look really closely. I'm assuming these are real DID rims. DID are the OE for Honda. I'm assuming Suzuki as well. But we've got to lace this up. Same as the Honda, from what I can see. The rims have little holes across them. Some are facing up, some are facing down. Some of them are facing in, some of them are facing out. So we know that the ones facing out are the outer ones. So we'll lace the bottom ones first. They all go anti-clockwise or to the right, and they're different. So these outer ones here will have a longer reach around than what these inner ones will. I'm hoping these are right, because I didn't order them, and he only laced the one, so I didn't speak to him about that, but I'm assuming they're all correct. So we'll pull them out and have a look. And that would be an outer one because it's reaching around, and the inners will be these ones. You can see the difference. I'm going to change my glasses. Right, so I'm going to go and put the inner ones on first. That is the shorter ones. Right, we've separated them all, and we're just going to run through, stick these in, and we should be good. I'm just really impressed with the quality of kit this guy got, Neil. Now the only thing that worries me, on the front wheel there's a huge hollowed out area, and I've got to find, I thought I found the right spacer that should float in the centre and stay central, if you like, for locating between the inner part of the bearing. So time will tell. Alright, we've got that done. Spread these out a bit. We've got to get them that way first to start with. And I'm not experienced with this, but I did it on the Hondas. I was actually daunted by it, and Dave did his XL one, and he said it's pretty easy if you've got one to copy off. First to the left, we will stick this guy in. That's an upper one, and just go around in every four. We'll put one in. Oh, yep, see, come back. So I'll just start that. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the next one, which is this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the next one, which is this guy here. Where are you? Come here, mate. That one. Oopsie. In you get. So every 4, and then we'll flick him around and do the same thing on the other side. Like that. So we look for the one that's facing up in the right orientation, which is this guy here. And we stick a nut in, and already I can see those are going to be fine. We just count every 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is this one. And you can actually see them, and you know straight away if the sort of trajectory of the hole in the rim isn't right. You know about it pretty quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one here. And I find it, and I'm not experienced with this. I've only done the 2 Hondas I've got, so I've done 4 wheels in total. I find putting the inner ones on first, and then the outer ones individually. That's the way I find it easier, because otherwise you've got 40 odd spokes just hanging off the hub, and then you put some on, and then you find out you've got to take that out to get this one over it and all that sort of business. Pain in the neck. So if you do it this way, and I don't know how a professional lacer would do it, but that's just the way, or what I found is beneficial. So now I've got these in, it's all over the joint, but it doesn't matter. Threading these guys in from underneath. Famous last words. That's going to be easier. Do you know what I mean? So this bloke here goes into that one, and then we just do the forking again. Get more of these nipples out, and just one at a time. And probably easy to do the other side first because this one's sort of where the hub's resting on it. And the same thing again. This one here. What do we go from the other side? And just where we were last, 1, 2, 3, 4, in there. The other thing you'll notice when you go to put them in is what you'll see the trajectory of where the spoke was previously, and you'll know straight away this one has to go down this way. There should be a corresponding hole with series, and it's pointing in the right direction, so we know it's right. And we're happy with that. So it's not a bad thing doing this. Now I'm not going to bother truing these. I haven't got the bearings yet anyway, but I can't be bothered sitting there with the axle on jack stands and running it, having a thing on it, watching for run out and all that sort of business. I can't be bothered with that.
So when it gets tyres on, I'll just get them to true them then. I think they charge like $100 a ream to true them because it's kind of labour intensive. And with my workload, I just don't have time to mess around with them. It's a skill I wouldn't mind getting, and I could work it out, I reckon. I'm pretty confident that it wouldn't be too hard. But I would think it's, time consuming, so I'm not bothering with it. Let a pro do it, he can do it in a quarter of the time I can anyway. All the rain started. Now, no spares left at all. You can see it's still very loose. I'm just going to run these up by hand to about 1/8 of an inch clearance from the end of the thread, maybe a bit more, and we'll just see if some of that's taken out, that looseness. I'm comfortable everything's in the right way, and I'm just sort of doing it all by hand. I think it'll be fine, and that gets us out of another little job. So, still drinking the same cup of tea, hasn't taken very long to do. There's plenty of thread, this is all beautiful, there's plenty of thread left down in here, but I'd call it done. I'm happy with that. So, we now have our rims ready to go for truing and new tyres. Here it is. Right, I'm curious about something on this headstock, and what I need to ascertain, they're the same size as racers, right? And they're pretty fine condition. So what I'm hoping is I've got the right balls. I'm just going to wash those ball bearings just a moment. Right, so what I've done is I've cleaned up the ball bearings. We have 36. So I'm hoping 36 fit around here. Where did I put my grease? Just a moment, please. So I'm just going to fill that little cavity with grease, which will hold the ball bearings, and then if I'm right, then they'll sit there and I'll be happy. So that's just a matter of plonking these little buggers in, pushing them against the inner part of the race, and there we go. They're all there. They'll all fit. So each one is 18. I could probably clean them a bit better, but there's no issues with hardening or anything. They're actually really good. So I'm not going to bother with headstock bearings. I'm just going to reuse those. In the meantime, I'll just stick them all in a bag together so I don't lose anything. Frame. Yeah, this is all reasonably obvious. Not really all that obvious. Coils obviously go here. We'll have to prepare that for decent earth. Battery box, which has been cut. I've got to just make up a strap for the back of it. I'm assuming that goes like that somehow, with the box being accessed from this side, because I think the oil tank's on the other side. Air filter, I have no idea how that goes. Obviously, that bit faces forward, but that's all I know. I really don't know. So the great thing about this, of course, it wasn't cut. That was the thing I was really worried about. In saying that, there's a tab there that's got a flat bit. I'm assuming that's the regulator, or the rectifier, sorry. Judging by the fastener on it. Side cover goes on there. So, I've just got to figure this all out. But I will say, it is pretty impressive, really. All the numbers are in it, it's all matching up with the engine number and all that stuff. Very easy to put the engine in and out of. Of course, you don't have to pull anything off them, you just stick it in as a unit. So, very good. Very, very good. I'm just thinking about this. I haven't finished looking for parts, but that's your steering stock there, and your steering lock, and I've got all that. I can't find the seal that goes underneath there. I mean, surely it's got one. I'm not positive, but I would think it would have one. Anyway, look, this is all looking pretty good. All right. So oil tank goes on this side. Let's go like that. There's something it mounts onto down there. So as far as this is concerned, I'm just going to weld a piece in here, make it look all neat. Put a tab there. I'll just stick it on top of that, or butt it up to it and whatever. Weld it up, and then get it powder coated. And that'll all get blasted properly. It's just easy to do it that way. Haven't figured out how to mount the air cleaner. There's going to be a few bits and pieces. There's lots of bits on this bike which I don't know much about, but you know, it's just a matter of making headway as I can, and it'll start to make sense. I'm not experienced with these at all. So a few things I'm not sure of. We've got the center stand goes in those two channels down there, dead easy. That's pretty basic, and the spring would come off that on the side where the Hondas normally come on the inside. That will be for the kickstand, so I'll get that powder coated. That will sit under there. Engine only has three bolts. Oh, maybe four. There's one there, one there. I think there's one under there, one there. 3 or 4, I don't know. But I think what we'll do in the next one, we'll start putting it together. We've got to get the tyres done, the wheels done, and also we'll roughly lay in where the wiring is. And the wiring's sort of all, the insulation's gone, it's messy, but I don't care. I can lay it in and fit it all up with the engine in situ. That way I'm going to know exactly where each branch of it sort of comes off, so I know how to tape it properly. Rather than taping it on the bench and then putting it in, finding out stuff doesn't reach. That's always a pain in the neck. But, you know, it all seems to be coming together. The only thing I'm not sure of, the oil tank sits here. You can see that there's 2 brackets there, there's there, and there's also one down here which is going nowhere. And I can see where the battery carrier goes, but the air cleaner's got to be baffled a bit. I've just got to figure that out. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard. But, end of the day, I'm pretty happy with it. It looks like a fairly reasonably easy job, but I don't want to speak too soon in case I run into problems and get baffled with something and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But at this sort of point, it doesn't look too bad. Bloody hell! Can you tell I just filmed this straight after I did the intro? So, it was all looking really, really good. The thing is, so much of the expensive stuff on this bike, tanks are hugely expensive on these things. Any good tank for any road bike. And that's done, the seat's done, even the chain and sprockets are like new. I don't have to do any of that stuff. The engines, I want to, well, the order I want to do this is in the next chapter, we're going to get the frame and start putting stuff back on it. Once we get the plating back, the plating normally takes about a week, and fortunately, Warner's Metro, who do all my plating, and they're very reasonable. They're the best plater I've come across, and I've been to 4. I heard a rumour through another plater that they were closing up, and I was a bit bummed about that. But I rang them and they said, "What are you talking about?" They actually thought I was having a lend, but they're still in business, which is great. So I'll go and take that down. That'll take about a week. The airbox, as we said, we've got to just weld a couple of bits on that. That's the only thing I can find that's been cut, obviously for a different size battery. The great thing about this bike is I don't have to use a big battery, there's no electric start. So a small 12 volt, I think it's 12 volt, yeah, battery is going to be fine. So I can do that, send that stuff off to be powder coated. There's not much stuff there to be powder coated. I'll ask Sam to do that. And he blasts them and does all that sort of stuff, so that's all good. The thing is, we're still going to be, to get out of this, about $900. And you know what? I've allowed $400 for truing the wheels and new tyres. It's sort of $200 each. So we've got to do that. And the other thing that's expensive with the rear shocks, I don't want to put those mucky shocks on. The reason is, and the same with the plating, is the bike's in such great nick that we've got a powder coated frame, we've got brilliant paint. Sticking rusty bolts on just isn't going to look right. I just don't want to do it that way. So, you know, I've got a list here of everything I've found. Rear axle bearings and seals, I'm not going. The good thing about Neil is he's done everything right. He's kept all the old parts so I can take them into bearing wholesalers, get new ones. I can go the oil balls route, that's like $85 by the time you get them posted. But if I can take them down there, I'm probably going to pay half that for just as good or better bearings anyway. They deal with a lot of Timken stuff. Brake shoes, just fork seals like $17.50, and then I'm out of the forks, you know what I mean? Yeah, tyres, globe, you know about all that sort of stuff. Plating, powder coating. I'll put new front pads on, and I'll do off the caliper and the master as well, because there's a bit of kind of oxidizey crap in the caliper. You know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know if the regulator is going to be any good, and the cush drive rubbers are they're okay. I think they're serviceable.
I'm not looking at spending money on this for the sheer sake of it. Things like these swing arm bushes, absolutely fine. I don't need to put them in. They're good. So this looks to be really, really, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, $800, but what do you do? Maybe $900, I don't know. And there'll be incidentals along the way too. So what we're going to do, next one, as we said, we'll get the frame. We'll put the frame together, rolling frame, which is virtually the bike. Lace up the wiring. The manual's good, but it doesn't show you stuff like that. It shows you how to change the spark plugs and how to put piston rings in, but it doesn't show you some of the exploded stuff that makes it necessary to put the bike together properly, but I've just got to nut that out. And we'll put both motors in and start them both up and check them out. Worst comes to worst, if I have to do rings are $30. I've got gaskets here, head gaskets are nothing for them. They're very reasonable. And the other thing I can do is that both barrels and both heads are separate. So I can chop and change. So if the bottom end on the old motor looks good because the casing's in better conditions, I might use that with a different top end. That stuff's very quick to do. So this series isn't going to be long. I thought it'd be longer, but I'm only going to get probably 5 or 6 videos out of it. And then we're done. Anyway, look, hope you've enjoyed this. Take good care of yourselves, enjoy Classic, and I'll see you around.